I never imagined a simple hug could unravel heartbreaking secrets about love and sacrifice. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The warmth wrapped around me felt so familiar, yet the weight of it crushed my chest. I could smell the faint scent of lavender mixed with something sharp, something like betrayal. As I sank into that embrace, I thought it was a moment of connection. But little did I know, it was the beginning of the end. That I stood there, heart racing, hands trembling. The afternoon sun streamed through the branches, casting eerie shadows that felt sinister. This wasn't just any hug, it was a portal to a reality I wasn't ready to face. My best friend, Sarah, clung to me with desperation, her tears soaking into my shirt. She had always been the strong one, the protector. But today, she was breaking. And as I held her, I felt something shift in the air, something heavy and foreboding. "Promise me, you won't tell anyone," she whispered, her voice cracked like shattered glass. I wanted to pull back, to escape the gravity of her panic, but I couldn't. I was locked in, heart beating like a drum against my ribs. Behind us, my brother Alex lingered in the doorway, eyes wide, lips pressed into a thin line. The world around me faded into a hush. I could almost hear the heartbeat of the universe beating louder with every moment of silence. The look on his face screamed fear and confusion. I felt the walls closing in, suffocating me. There had to be a reason for this. Was it about me? About them? I tried to decode the look in Sarah's eyes. Was it regret? Fear? The air was thick with unspoken words. The shadows danced as if mocking us, moments frozen in time where secrets bled into light. I was caught between wanting to scream and wanting to disappear. Suddenly, Sarah pulled back and whispered something so low I could barely make it out. "It's about Mom." Her voice trembled, and my heart dropped into my stomach. Mom? What did that have to do with any of this? My breath caught, and for a moment, I believed I might pass out. I searched for answers in her eyes, but they were filled with a storm of emotions. The hug, the tears, it was all leading to this revelation. Was she protecting me, or was she hiding something darker? I needed to know. I needed to confront the fear that wrapped around my heart like a vice. Outside, the wind howled as if echoing my internal chaos. The sun dipped lower in the sky, tinting everything with shades of darkness. Was this a warning? The silence grew louder, filled with the weight of uncertainty. What had my family buried so deep that it threatened to tear us apart? I could almost hear the distant sound of thunder rumbling, foretelling a storm that felt imminent. That I looked at Sarah, her hands shaking, desperate for reassurance. I wanted to tell her everything would be okay, that we would face whatever it was together. But the truth was, I was terrified. The fabric of our lives was fraying, unraveling thread by thread, and I didn't know how to stop it. Just then, Alex surged forward, his hands clenched into fists, eyes blazing with something primal. "You need to tell her, Sarah. Now." Each word struck like lightning, electrifying the tension between us. I held my breath, waiting for the truth to slice through the silence. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the words hung heavy in the air, I could feel an electric current of fear pulsating through the space between us. My heart thudded in my chest, and I searched Alex's face, looking for some sign of clarity amidst the chaos. Instead, he looked more frantic than ever, urgency radiating from him in waves. "Please, Sarah. This isn't just about you anymore. If you don't tell her what is going on, it'll consume you both," he implored, his voice shaky yet unyielding. The air pulsed with tension, and my mind spun as I struggled to process the weight of that statement. For years, I had thought we were a unit always together, protecting one another. But in this moment, the fractures began to show. About Mom, I finally found my voice, though it felt foreign and weak. What do you mean? What are you hiding? I dared to look deeper into Sarah's fearful eyes, searching for some glimmer of truth. She swallowed hard, a shiver running through her as she closed her eyes for a fleeting second. Promise me you won't freak out, she gasped, pulling me again into her fragile embrace. It's not just about Mom being sick. There's more to it. Decisions were made without you. I squeezed her tighter, panic clawing at my throat like a caged animal. Sarah, what did they do? What did you find out? I was stepping onto a precipice, teetering on the brink of understanding, but the view terrified me. Her lips trembled as she hesitated, torn between her instinct to protect and her growing need to unburden. I found the letters, she admitted, each word carefully chosen as if revealing a sacred truth. Letters from the hospital, from the doctor. They were planning a procedure, something Mom never mentioned. And it's not just a routine surgery. The shadows seemed to darken around us, closing in, and I fought to keep the air in my lungs steady. Why wouldn't she tell me? I whispered, my voice turning brittle with hurt. What else is she keeping from me? Just then, the screech of tires echoed from the driveway, jarring us from our cocoon of desperation. I turned to see our father's car pulling in, and an unsettling realization gripped me. If he was home now, then there was no avoiding the confrontation. But the grounding force of uncertainty shifted into a frantic energy, and I didn't know whether to stay and face him or run. Is this why you've been so anxious, Sarah? Alex asked, glancing back at our friend, sensing the turbulence in her heart. You weren't telling me everything. I didn't want you to worry, she replied, the fragility in her voice making my chest constrict painfully. I thought maybe, if I didn't know about it, it wouldn't be real. That maybe she'd never have to go through with it, that we could keep pretending. For a fleeting moment, I could see a flicker of strength inside her, a glimmer of hope that perhaps we could confront this together. But as the car engine sputtered off and the heavy sound of an opening door reached our ears, reality crashed back into focus. Our father was stepping out, a frown etched onto his features as he spotted us in the doorway. Where is your mother? He called, his voice stern, charged with a sense of urgency. I could feel the ground shifting beneath my feet as the unspoken tension rose like smoke, thick and suffocating. Dad, we need to talk, I said, desperation rushing out of me as I took a step forward, a small gesture overshadowed by the weight of everything left unsaid. But just as the words escaped my lips, I was met with a look that froze me in place. Not now, not like this, he snapped, his frustration clouding the possibility of honesty we so desperately craved. We don't have time for this. Time? I echoed, feeling the final strand connecting my composure unravel. We're running out of time to understand everything. The letters, Mom's secret, it's all tied together. Suddenly, Sarah stepped forward, a fierce glimmer returning to her gaze. If it's about Mom, we're done pretending. You have to face it, she said, and against all odds, the strength of her conviction reignited a flicker of hope in the shadows cast by our fears. But as my father ran a hand through his hair and let out a heavy sigh, I caught a glimpse of something that sent a chill down my spine, an all too familiar tension, sorrow intertwined with a realization that perhaps he was the one who bore the dark secret, the unforgivable burden. In that moment, just as the storm clouds loomed outside, I felt another weight descend upon us, heavier than before. The truth was no longer trapped in whispers, it was about to confront us, and whatever lay behind it felt insurmountable. A revelation, a barrier, left unbroken. I was only beginning to understand the depths of the storm that would change everything, and as the sound of the brewing tempest filled my ears, I braced for the tumult that was about to be unleashed. In my heart, I knew, this was only the beginning. The storm intensified as the rain began to pelt against the windows, a relentless drumming that mirrored the chaos in my heart. My father stood there, caught in a web of emotions that felt ancient and heavy, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of vulnerability in his eyes that made my breath catch. The man I had always viewed as an unwavering rock suddenly appeared like a fragile shard of glass, teetering on the edge of breaking. "Where is she?" He pressed again, brushing past the frail attempts at honesty like a hurricane sweeping through a fragile cottage. His outburst hung in the air, a sharp accusation that cut through the heat of our mounting tension. "Dad," I began, but the words dissolved on my lips. Each notion I hoped to express felt futile against the steel wall he'd built around him, a wall that now echoed with every regret, every unspoken thing that had taken root in the crevices of our lives. Sarah's hand found mine, giving me the strength to push forward. "Dad, we're all scared. Mom deserves to know she's not alone. You don't have to protect us. We need to face this together." Her voice trembled, yet it held an unwavering conviction that echoed deep within me. It was a plea, soft yet powerful, like the gentle murmurs of hope that cling to you when you least expect it. I watched my father's features harden as if he were grappling with the shadows of choices he'd made long ago. The pressure created a silence so profound that even the thunder outside became a whisper. He looked away from us, and I could almost feel the weight of his thoughts as they collided, a storm of his own making. "Your mother, she's in tough shape," he finally said, his voice cracking like dry earth beneath a sudden downpour. "And there are choices I can't explain right now." "Then let us help you explain," I urged, the desperation capturing every syllable. "Don't you think we deserve the truth?" But his brows knitted tighter, and frustration was now laced with something darker, guilt. "It's not that easy. There are things you cannot understand, things I wish I could protect you from." His admission broke through a dam of anguish within me. I could feel Sarah's grip tighten, a quiet understanding passing between us that echoed even louder than his silence. "You're not protecting us, Dad," I said, anguish creeping into my tone. "You're isolating us. You've created a world where we're all afraid." A sharp intake of breath escaped him, and in that vulnerable pause, I sensed an invitation, an opening for deeper pain yet to be unearthed. But before I could challenge him further, the door swung open, and our mother stepped in, her figure illuminated in the dim light, water trickling down her clothes. "Why is everyone standing here like it's a funeral?" she asked, her voice a calm against the storm, but there was an undercurrent of confusion and concern beneath it. "What is going on?" The three of us froze, caught between the swirling past and an uncertain present. My heart raced, and I could feel everyone's gaze shift toward her, the electrifying tension drawing tighter still, a noose made of unsaid truths. "Mom, we need to talk," I managed, feeling like a fragile thread in a tangled web. "I'm fine," she waved it off, trying to sidestep an impending wave of reality. But the flicker in her eyes betrayed her. "Can you really say that? Can you say you're fine when we all know the truth?" Sarah stepped forward, her voice steady and earnest, and I admired how she could summon courage even in the tempest of vulnerability. My mother pinched her lips, looking from Sarah to me, and finally to my father, who looked like a statue of remorse, caught in a moment he couldn't escape. "I'm not ready for this." Her voice broke, a delicate embarrassment blooming in the space. "But you don't have to face it alone," I said, reaching out, feeling the pull of love laced with heartbreak. Just then, an unexpected crack of thunder sounded, and the lights flickered ominously. The room plunged into momentary darkness before the backup generator roared to life, the overhead lights humming back into existence with a flickering hesitation. In that brief moment of darkness, I felt the weight of every unsaid word pressing into my chest, as though the universe colluded with my fears, daring me to step closer to the truth awaiting discovery. "Mom," I started, my voice low yet firm, "there is so much we don't know. Don't you think it's time we found out?" The strength of my conviction seemed to drift into the chrome-colored shadows, but there was an unexpected flash of understanding in her eyes, a response that hinted at an avalanche of revelation waiting to wash over us. But before she could respond, my father stepped in, his voice rising above the chorus of the storm outside. "This isn't the time for this." The tension broke like a fragile branch, and my heart raced as I caught sight of something strange in my mother's gaze. Fear? Regret? Or perhaps there was something deeper, a truth that could shatter the already fractured foundation of our family. Please, I whispered, my voice cracking under the weight of everything unspoken, just tell us the truth. And just as she opened her mouth to speak, the lights cut out again, plunging us into darkness once more, along with the resounding crash of thunder, as if the very heavens were warning us that we were on the brink of discovering something that would change everything. In that pitch-black moment, all I felt was the electric current of fear and uncertainty, a chaotic dance of emotions flooding my senses. And when the lights flickered back on, the room felt altered, a strange tension lingering in the air, an unknown fate awaiting us all. It was time to unveil our secrets, but I couldn't escape the sense that with every revelation, we would unravel something far more precious than just answers. The thought gripped my heart, a chilling reminder that with each truth, love would be tested like never before. The kitchen felt claustrophobic as our mother stood frozen, an array of emotions flashing across her face: confusion, fear, and the faintest glimmer of resolve. I could sense the shifting tide, her inhalation almost like the calm before the storm, with my heart pounding in sync. Surrounding us, the sound of the rain intensified, each droplet a reminder of the walls we had built, damp and ready to crumble. "Mom," Sarah called softly, breaking through the suffocating silence, "please, we've shared so much already. You don't have to hide from us anymore." But hiding was what we had all been doing. Each of us, like careful architects, had crafted a facade to shield our hearts from the truth of the family we had turned into, isolated, fractured, and afraid. "I know," she began, her voice trembling, as if she were testing unfamiliar waters. "I know I haven't been the mother you need lately." The truth is, she hesitated, her brow knitting together in concentration. "Whatever it is, we'll be here, or at least I will," I interjected, thinking of the secrets perched precariously upon the edge of her lips. Something about the way she closed her eyes said it would be heavy, too heavy to carry alone, and then, in what felt like a tidal wave crashing over us, she opened her eyes, a storm of hurt and honesty laid bare for the first time. "It's not just about me. It's about all of us. There are things your father and I have faced together, decisions that haunt us, choices that perhaps were made out of love, but have led us here to this moment." Dad shifted uncomfortably, his shoulders rigid, unwilling to let her voice the turmoil that had tormented our family for too long. I instinctively reached for Sarah's hand, squeezing it tight for support, hoping the connection would anchor us to sanity within this chaotic revelation. "The choices you've all made," my father murmured, his tone low yet edged with a hint of pleading. "They were meant to protect you." "Protect us?" I interrupted, my voice rising against the din. "This feels more like a prison than a protection. These secrets only keep us further apart." My mother's look of anguish pierced through the air, and I felt a pang of sympathy. The storm outside roared loathsomely, as though it were mirroring our collective denial and the aching truth beginning to surface. "Your mother, she nearly lost herself," he said, his expression crumbling as he faced me, regret bared upon his features. "The choices, where does that leave us?" Sarah whispered, her voice fragile but resolute. "If you're not okay, how can we be?" In that moment, it felt as though gravity had shifted. My mother's shoulders began to tremble, and her resolve flickered like a candle threatened by a gust of wind. "I had to make a choice," she choked out, "between my own sanity and keeping you all together. There were sacrifices made, things I didn't want to burden you with." "What kind of sacrifices?" My voice faltered, dread crawling beneath my skin. "How could you think hiding the truth was for our benefit?" Suddenly, the lights blinked off again, but this time, they lingered in darkness longer, as if the universe were testing our bounds of endurance. I felt my ensuing panic gripped by blanket silence. The dark was terrifying and yet oddly liberating. "Listen to me," she murmured through the encroaching void. "There are shadows from our past that have always loomed large. Secrets about your grandparents that I found out too late, things that have haunted our family for generations." "Are you saying this isn't just about you?" I asked, the frantic beating of my heart rising to a crescendo of confusion. Is there more? I didn't want you to suffer through it as I did. That's why we've shielded you, why I've hidden, she confessed, each word dripping with pain. But I'm afraid it wasn't only for you I was hiding from my own demons. Before I could respond, the lights flared back to life, revealing my mother's face awash in anguish, but it was a flicker in her gaze that stole my breath, the haunting echo of loss that was about to unfold. And then it struck me. The implications of her words sprawled before me like scattered cards in a ruined deck. My hopes of clarity were overshadowed as I felt Sarah's fingers curl in mine, trembling. There was so much more we didn't know, so much darker than our fears. Mom, what did they do? I stammered, already haunted by the possibilities. Her lips pressed tightly together, and for the briefest moment, I could sense she was wrestling with memories that pained her more than we knew. I saw my father, unable to meet her eyes, his own festooned in regret, and my heart twisted painfully, all of us, standing on the precipice of revelation, no one daring to step forward, each of us bound tighter not by family, but rather the scars created by the past, echoes from whispers done many years before us. Then, as though fate itself intervened, a small sound broke the stillness, a beep, a tone, almost like the soft ring of an old telephone in the distance, echoing through the corridor of memory, and within that uncanny moment, something rustled in my mind, a forgotten name or a whisper I couldn't quite grasp. What was it? I muttered through clenched teeth, the foreboding sense of urgency filling the air. Your grandfather, there's something you need to know about him. It's deeper than you think, my mother finally confessed, her voice trembling under the weight of dread-filled secrets ready to slip free, pulling me down a path I never expected to tread. My stomach soured with both fear and anticipation as a chilling silence wrapped around us like the embrace of the dark, setting the stage for secrets long held at bay. This couldn't be the end. We were on the brink of an abyss, and I feared what might lurk just beyond. As the last words hovered in the air like an unresolved note, I felt an unrelenting pressure build within me, a tight knot of dread and anticipation. My mother's gaze was clouded with a mixture of remorse and urgency, but it was my father's eyes, filled with unshed tears, that held me captive. The question loomed large: how had I never known that my family's past was so intricately woven with darkness and sacrifice? Mom, what do you mean? I pressed, my voice a whisper, as if speaking any louder might shatter the fragile reality we stood upon. She took a deep breath, the tension crackling around us, then began. Your grandfather, he was a man tormented by his own choices. He made decisions based on love, or so he believed. But those choices left a trail of destruction. Destruction? What kind of destruction? Sarah's voice trembled, and I felt her grip tighten around my fingers. The kind that sends ripples through generations, she replied, her voice breaking. He was involved with things that hurt a lot of people. Your grandmother hid it well, but the scars ran deep. When I married your father, I vowed never to speak of it. I thought I could escape it, but shadows from the past have always found their way back home. I felt unmoored, as if the very ground beneath my feet was shifting. The walls of our kitchen, once a haven of warmth and laughter, felt more like a tomb holding tightly to the echoes of unspoken sorrow. Okay, but why didn't you ever tell us? I implored, a surge of anguish spilling into my words. We're not children anymore. You can't protect us like this. Her expression softened, but anguish glinted in her eyes. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought keeping you safe from these truths would allow you to live better lives free from the burdens that haunted me. I stood there, acutely aware of the weight of my own confusion, and then a powerful wave of truth crashed over me. But you're only pushing us away. You're isolating us with these secrets. We want to help, to share in your pain, not be shielded from it. In the distance, the rain continued to pour, its rhythm contributing to an unbearable tension in the room. I could feel the energy shifting, and a glimmer of hope flickered in my chest, brewing despite the shadows. Maybe in the honesty that was finally spilling into the light lay the seeds for healing. My mother hesitated, her face crumpling under the force of her words. When I found out the truth about my parents, I was devastated. I couldn't bear the thought of burdening you with the same reality. I wanted to keep you innocent. Mom, innocence is overrated, I said, but my voice broke slightly, a reminder of my own fragility. We're strong enough to handle the truth whatever it is. The silence bore down heavier as she searched for the right words, but before she could respond, an unexpected sound punctured the tension. A gentle knock came from the kitchen door. Startled, we exchanged glances, the shift in the mood palpable as curiosity intertwined with concern. Who could that be? Sarah questioned, her voice filled with a mixture of anxiety and hope. Stay here, I ordered firmly, taking a deep breath before stepping toward the door. Each step felt weighted as if I were walking toward a crucial plot twist about to unfold. I could feel my heart race in my chest, a timid drum echoing my uncertainty. As I reached for the handle, a thought struck me: what if it was someone from the past? Someone connected to the secrets that had overwhelmed our family? I swung the door open, and to my astonishment, there stood a figure cloaked in the battering rain, their features obscured under a hood. Can I come in? The stranger's voice emerged, rough yet familiar, sending an icy shiver down my spine. Before I could respond, the figure stepped forward, lowering their hood to reveal a face both haunting and heartbreakingly familiar, a face I had only seen in faded photographs and sprinkled memories. It was my grandfather, or rather, his shadow, a man I had been told had been lost to the past, tangled in the very secrets my mother had been so desperate to protect us from. Help me, he rasped, a wild look in his eyes. There are things you need to know, truths I never wanted to bring to your door. The sight of him took my breath away. It felt like a cruel trick of fate, standing before the echo of the grandfather I had only ever heard whispers about. As my heart raced, a storm of emotions surged within me: confusion, anger, and an inexplicable sadness that seemed to yoke our family's history together like a grim tapestry. Grandpa? I whispered, unconsciously stepping back as if the air around him pulsed with both threat and longing. Every moment spent learning about his life, the scars he left on my family, wove a dreadfully complex narrative that felt too heavy to bear. Don't be afraid, he said, his voice cracking like tired bones. I'm not here to cause trouble. I just need a moment to explain everything. The secrets that bind us are threatening to break free. I glanced back toward the kitchen, where Sarah and Mom stood frozen, their faces a cascade of shock and bewilderment. You never told us he was alive, I stammered, torn between my desire to embrace this stranger and the instincts that urged me to shut the door and chase away the shadows. I had to protect you, my mother finally spoke, her voice thick with regret. I thought it was best, but it wasn't. I interrupted, rushing the words out with urgent frustration. You could have let us decide for ourselves. You could have chosen love over fear. I turned back to the man standing drenched in rain, his skin pale, with the weight of age betraying his troubled heart. What do you want from us? I want to tell you the truth, he responded, his gaze fervent yet pleading. The truth about my choices, about your family. It's complicated and I know it won't undo what I've left in the wake of my life, but you deserve to know. The rain drummed steadily against the rooftop as my heart thundered in tandem. I stepped aside, the invitation aching on my lips. Come in. He entered hesitantly, his large frame dwarfed by the small kitchen that bore witness to generations of laughter and grief alike. I could feel my mother bristle, her instincts battling against the urge to confront this specter of our family's past. Sit down, I directed him, glancing back at Sarah, who looked as bewildered as I felt. We need to hear this. Looming above us like a solemn sentinel, he took a seat at the table, the wood creaking under his weight. My mother had retreated to the stove, her fingers trembling as she focused on heating water, while Sarah hovered close to me, unsure whether to cling to her sister or this stranger cloaked in sorrow. As he began to speak, his words were choppy, frayed memories spilling forth almost like an old film reel catching on loops of regret. I was a younger man then, driven by love but blinded by ambition. Your grandmother, she never understood the world I was immersed in, the choices I had to make. There were debts and lives at stake, and I thought I was saving us. I can see now that the decisions I made came with a price, one that shattered our family and set off a chain of calamities. Sarah leaned closer, her curiosity piqued despite the weariness evident in her expression. But did you love her? Deeply, he admitted, his voice thick with emotion. But love, my dear, can be as destructive as it is uplifting. I left behind a fire that doesn't simply burn out. It sears into time, and I see now that the ashes have begun to settle, revealing more than we thought was hidden. The confession hung weightily in the air, and for a moment, I felt the lines of our family's narrative untwisting, threatening to envelop us in a new reckoning. Your mother made choices to shield you from that darkness, he continued, focusing on her, though he seemed to trail off into the past. But shadows whisper secrets too that don't easily die. I've come to warn you. There are forces at play that won't rest until they claim their due. At the mention of forces and debts, the atmosphere shifted, thickening with a sense of impending doom. The cracks in my family's foundation loomed larger, revealing the fractures of our story that we had been so desperate to conceal. What do you mean? I whispered, my heart thudding against the stifling silence. The moment was pregnant with possibilities and fears yet to be unearthed. Our grandfather's eyes shone with a haunting clarity, foretelling not just the darkness of our lineage, but the urgency of time slipping away. Your family, the truth is coming back to find you, he said, voice trembling. And when it does, it won't knock first. Just as those words settled like a heavy stone in the pit of my stomach, my phone vibrated loudly against the countertop. I reached for it, breath hitching in my throat as I glanced at the screen. An unknown number. The room fell silent, every gaze glued to the familiar rectangle that buzzed with anticipation. The weight of our past was colliding with our present, the haunting specters of love and sacrifice dancing dangerously close. That I accepted the call with trembling fingers, turning my back to the storm brewing in our kitchen, a countdown of secrets teetering on the edge of revelation, and the voice that reached my ear shattered the moment into shards I wasn't prepared to catch. My breath caught in my throat as the voice on the other end spoke. It was vaguely familiar, yet laced with an edge of urgency that sent chills down my spine. Is this Matilda? The tone was controlled, but heavy with an underlying layer of concern. Yes, I managed to answer, feeling the weight of my family's gaze upon me, their breaths held with bated anticipation. This is Clara. I'm a friend of your mother's. I need you to listen carefully. It's about your grandfather. The words tumbled from her lips like a stone dropped into a well, creating ripples that extended far beyond the simple admission. What about him? I asked, the panic tightening my chest. Did she know something I didn't? There was a pause, long enough for uncertainty to choke any flicker of hope. You need to know that there are people searching for him, people from his past. They won't stop until they find him, and he's in danger, Matilda. My heart raced faster than the storm's raging rain against the windows, a deluge of panic and dread suffusing my veins. What do you mean? What kind of danger? Clara's voice softened, grave and truthful. It's complicated, but I promise you he's connected to something dark. You deserve to know, but it's not safe for him to be around. You must tell him to leave. Leave? My grandfather was in our kitchen, the somber weight of his presence turning the air electric, and now it seemed I needed to send him away. I can't just please. You have to believe me. If they find him here, it could hurt you all. I know your mother wants to protect you, but sometimes the truth is a danger all its own. Her voice lowered, and I could hear the urgency lacing her words like a lifeline fraying at both ends. Matilda, who is it? My mother interrupted, a storm of worry spilling into her tone as she approached me. I swallowed hard, tears threatening to brim in my eyes as I held up one finger, signaling for her to wait. Clara, I need to call you back, I said, before hanging up, my hands trembling. When I turned, I saw my grandfather's haunted eyes locked on mine, a silent understanding that clawed at the truth of our family. I noted the shadow flitting across my mother's face, the way worry mingled with fear, the same instincts that had protected us turned into heavy bonds that now threatened to unravel. What was that about? My mother pressed, her voice rising slightly, letting in a hint of her anxiety. I could hear Sarah taking soft breaths beside me, her arm brushing against mine like a reassuring touch that I wanted to share Clara's warning, to unburden the weight of it, but a sudden wave of loyalty surged within me. There was an innate desire to protect my grandfather, the very man I had only just begun to understand. His life was cloaked in shades of gray, and the love that had once compelled him to act now seemed like a shield before the storms that bore down upon us. "Clara, she thinks you're in danger," I finally breathed, my voice wavering. "That people are coming for you because of your past." A heaviness settled upon him, mingling with the regret that had built like dark clouds above our heads. He nodded slowly, his shoulders sagging under the years of burdens that had long since taken their toll. "I had hoped to shield you from this," he murmured, anguish rippling through those words. "There are shadows that appease themselves with the suffering of others. I didn't want to pull you into my mess. And yet, here we are," I blurted out before I could stop myself. My emotions, sharp from the gravity of the past flooding in, poured out in a surge of fury. "You came to us, didn't you? You opened this door. You must have known what would happen." "Matilda," my mother's voice broke through, sharp like glass, "stop. This isn't the time. I need to know the truth." I shouted, the crack in my voice revealing the vulnerable edge of my heart. "This everything, it's too much. We're left picking up the pieces while you stand there, bringing even more chaos into our lives." The tension between my grandfather and me crackled, electric, charged with emotions neither of us knew how to articulate. "You're right, it's a mess," he finally said, his voice ragged from years of despair and regret. "It may be too late for me to fix it." My heart clenched. The impact of his words rippled through me like a cold wave crashing against the shore, igniting the uncertainty of where to go next. "But maybe it's not too late for us," I whispered. As that small spark of hope ignited within me, the door swung open, and rain-drenched wind howled through, rustling the kitchen curtains. We turned as a figure stepped inside, soaked to the bone, a face I hadn't seen in years emerging through the chaos, cloaked in shadows and yet unmistakably familiar. Before my heart could leap in delight or despair, the figure spoke, "I've come to find you." The end of that sentence hung suspended between us, heavy with the weight of unspoken truths and burdens we had yet to face. My grandfather shifted, the fear and recognition settled into his bones, and I felt as if the storm had unleashed not just rain but secrets that would shake the foundation of everything we thought we understood. The rain poured relentlessly outside, mirroring the chaos inside our kitchen. The figure, still shrouded in a wet coat and darkness, stepped further into the light, revealing the sharp angles of a familiar face, a face that belonged to Andrew, my grandfather's estranged brother, who had disappeared from our lives long before I could form any memories of him. My heart raced, torn between shock and a dawning realization that what had been unfolding was much bigger than I had anticipated. "Andrew?" My voice trembled at the edges as I gingerly took a step forward. The last time I had heard his name, it was whispered over hushed family dinners, a ghostly presence woven into the fabric of our family's history. The collective weight of his absence hung thick in the air, stifling any easy breath. "Matilda," he recognized me hesitantly, his gaze darting to my grandfather, whose face now wore a complex tapestry of emotions: fear, vulnerability, and flickers of a fading hope. "We need to talk, but it's not safe here." My mother moved protectively between Andrew and my grandfather, her eyes narrowing into a cautious glare. "What do you want?" she demanded, her tone laced with the armor of years spent bearing the weight of family secrets. Her instinct was to shield us, but beneath that veil was a fear that mirrored my own. "Not what I want," he corrected, his voice raw but steady. "What I need is for you to listen. There's danger lurking in the shadows, and I'm afraid this time it's not just about me." In moments like these, time seemed to stretch and contract, the tension coiling around us, pulling tighter with every heartbeat. My mind reeled. Each word acted like a fragile thread, weaving together the frayed tapestry of family history, standing in stark contrast to the silence that had been my grandfather's shield for so long. What do you mean? My mother's voice quivered. What danger? Andrew took a deep breath, and for a moment, he seemed a stranger caught in the wreckage of our shared past. You still don't understand. There are forces at play connected to our family's past, things I tried to run away from but that never truly let me go. I thought I could escape them. I was wrong. Why are you here now? My grandfather's voice cracked, breaking the dam of a lifetime of repressed emotion. I could see the skin around his eyes tighten as anger mingled with vulnerability. You left us to fend for ourselves. You chose to walk away from your responsibilities. With a heavy sigh, Andrew shook his head, painfully aware of the void he had created between us. I know that, and I'm not asking for forgiveness. But I've learned that running only sets you up for the inevitable return of what haunts you. I'm here because I need your help, both of you. There are things I wish I could fix, and in doing so, I can help protect you, protect all of us. I slipped my fingers into Sarah's hand, seeking the comfort of something solid amid the chaos swirling around us. She squeezed back, her eyes wide with concern, reflecting my own swirling emotions. What was happening? Our lives had navigated through storms before, but this storm felt incomprehensibly vast. It's my fault, you know, my grandfather murmured, almost to himself, his voice tinged with regret. I brought all of this back into our lives. My choices left us vulnerable, and I should have been a better guardian to you all. Stop it. I interjected, feeling a swell of protectiveness towards him. You can't blame yourself for everything that has transpired. This isn't just about you anymore. Andrew's eyes flickered between us, sensing the rising storm of my grandfather's guilt and my mother's disdain. But it is about him. The past is not just buried, it's been digging its way back, and I came here, desperate, to warn you. Why should we trust you? My mother's voice was low, tinged with the steel of years spent on the defense. Because I know the truth of our family's past. The things he has hidden, the sacrifices he made to shield you. Andrew swallowed hard, the weight of his own regret sitting heavy on his shoulders. There are people coming who will stop at nothing to reclaim what is theirs. Your grandfather's past isn't just a chapter, it's the very core of your lives, and it's time for it to come to light. The storm outside roared louder, seemingly in agreement, as uncertainty and confusion clawed at me from all sides. A visceral need to protect my family collided with a yearning for clarity, for understanding just what had been buried beneath layers of love and silence. What do you want us to do? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, as the shadows loomed larger and darker around us. Andrew stepped closer, catching my gaze in a way that felt eerily intimate, as though he could read the entirety of my heart. You need to know everything. Only then can we figure out how to get ahead of what's coming. Before I could respond, a muffled thud resonated from the back of the house, followed by a low murmur. Bile rose in my throat, the hairs on the back of my neck prickling with a sense of foreboding. What was that? My mother gasped, glancing toward the sound. Andrew stiffened, his gaze darting toward the door. We don't have time, we need to go now. A new surge of panic flooded the room as my grandfather's face paled, the fear igniting an urgency within me to protect rather than flee. I won't let any of you get hurt, he said, a fierce determination mixing with the tremors of uncertainty in his voice. Wait. I urged, intertwined with the rush of panic, the fear thicker than the rain beating against the windows. What are we facing? What is it you've been hiding? And as the ominous crack of thunder echoed, a terrible understanding gripped me. The past was no longer a shadow, it was breathing down our necks, tightening its hold, and whatever came next would irrevocably change everything we thought we understood about family, love, and sacrifice. A shattered glass echoed from the distance, and an unfamiliar voice snaked its way through the darkness. I see you've gathered. It's time for the truth to finally come home. The tension in the room snapped, like a bowstring pulled too tight, and I knew there was no turning back now. The air around us crackled with the weight of the unknown, and dread coiled itself tightly in my chest. My heart pounded in time with the relentless rain, each drop a reminder of the turmoil we faced. With every blink, reality slipped farther from reach as that voice taunted us with the assurance of candid truth. "Who's there?" My mother demanded bravely, stepping with intent toward the doorway, her resolve transforming into an ironclad barrier between us and whatever threat loomed beyond. But fear gripped my heart, and a sudden impulse to shield her surged within me. "Stay back!" I shouted, pulling her arm urgently. "Don't just," but before I could finish, the door burst open, flinging droplets of water like shards of glass into our sanctuary. A figure emerged from the blackness, silhouetted against flashes of lightning that momentarily illuminated the chaos outside. "Emily," came the soft, malevolent whisper. My breath froze. Despite the tension in the room, I felt a horrifying familiarity with that name. "Who are you?" My mother's voice was hard, unwavering, though the tremor betrayed her fear. The figure stepped closer, wiping a hand across their face, and in that instant, recognition etched itself deep within me. It was someone from my past, a childhood friend, someone I had once trusted implicitly before life had twisted our paths apart. "David?" My voice wavered, and I felt the weight of disbelief seep through my body. "What are you doing here?" His smile twisted into something dark, predatory almost. "I'm here to bring clarity to the chaos, Matilda. It's time you understand the choices made by those who came before you, decisions that affect your very existence." "Enough of this." Andrew's voice cut through the tension. "What do you know? Speak plainly, or leave this place." David chuckled, a disregard to Andrew's authority ringing menacingly. "You talked about needing to know everything, didn't you? Then let us strip away the layers of your family's achievements and reveal the body beneath." My grandfather moved forward, a protective instinct awakening in him, yet uncertainty flickered like firelight across his face. "How could you betray us like this, David?" The smile faded, replaced by the sorrow of nostalgic betrayal. "Betrayal? Or revelation? You've shielded your family from the truth for too long, and that burden has become a heavy weight. I've come to lift it, whether you want me to or not." The room pulsed with tension, the air thickening with unresolved emotions. I stood rigid, caught in a web of confusion and betrayal. "What are you saying? What truth?" "Oh, Matilda, the truth is," but before he could finish, a deafening crash silenced his words as remnants of a shattered past echoed in the corners of my mind. Thunder rumbled in agreement, the world outside felt alive, matching my escalating heartbeat. "Protect her," Andrew commanded, lunging toward David as my grandfather moved to pull me back. The storm outside intensified, and I was lost in a whirlwind of emotions. Fear, anger, and confusion collided within me, pulsing like a living entity. Somewhere deep within, I understood, the past was unearthing secrets long buried, and it was reshaping the present into something unrecognizable. "Matilda, listen to me. You're the key," David pressed, gaining my attention, though his voice faltered in urgency. "Your family's choices made you vulnerable to the very forces Andrew is afraid of. The legacy of betrayal your grandfather tried to protect is now your burden." "But what do you mean, I'm the key?" The word slithered off my tongue apprehensively, nearly choked by the coil of impending dread. David hesitated, then stepped closer, his eyes locking onto mine, searching for a flicker of understanding. "Are you willing to embrace the truth? You have a connection to what's come before you, it's why you're all in danger now. You were meant to find this out, but only if you dare to face it." In a moment, the shattered glass shifted, memories resurfaced, vague whispers of family secrets I convinced myself were imaginary. The laughter at dinner turned hollow. When I thought of betrayal, the hidden glances between my parents spoke volumes of fear disguised as love. "Matilda," Andrew's voice steadied my spiraling thoughts, a desperate plea that anchored me against the storm. You don't have to accept his version of reality. We can handle this without losing ourselves. I looked between the two men, confusion and loyalty battling within me, fighting against an unnerving realization. What if he's right? Both men recoiled, shocked, while my mother stepped back, her face illuminated with horror, a reflection of what I now bore. You can't mean that, she cried, a mixture of dismay and fear crystallizing in her voice. The weight of 100 emotions hung over us, each moment echoing the truth that there was no returning to the naive existence we once knew. Just as I felt the very ground shift beneath me, another voice cut through the chaos, a voice not of someone from the storm but one I had not expected to hear. Enough, all of you. It was Sarah, her expression fierce, unwavering. You're talking in circles, speculating on things none of us understand. But we need to protect one another, to face whatever's threatening us together. No more secrets. Hope flickered, bright yet fragile like a candle fighting against the wind. As the thunder cracked once more, drowning out the noise of my racing thoughts, I made a choice. Underneath the burden of unspoken family history, a flicker of determination ignited within me. All right, I said, my voice cutting through the tension. Let us unravel this thread together. But this time, we'll approach it united. And as the gravity of my words settled in, a heavy silence consumed the room. Outside, the storm raged on, but deep inside, hope grappled for its rightful place amid the chaos. Just then, a final crash resonated beyond the walls of our home, an unwelcoming declaration of what lay ahead. Both Andrew and David exchanged glances, an unmistakable understanding passing between them. Looks like we have company, David muttered ruefully, the reality surfacing like an unwanted truth, and as the darkness deepened surrounding us, I knew with agonizing certainty that our fight was only just beginning. The past was not done with us yet, and in this battle, the true cost of love and sacrifice loomed larger than any of us could fathom. The air felt electric, charged with uncertainty and lingering shadows, as the weight of my decision settled upon us all. We were standing at the threshold of our family's abyss, and with every heartbeat, the darkness loomed closer, swallowing all pretenses and protective layers we had so meticulously constructed over the years. As eyes turned toward me, reflecting a blend of hope and fear, I understood that this path of revelation would also demand courage and acceptance. Matilda, are you sure? Sarah asked, her voice a whisper, laced with concern. The room was a cacophony of anxiety. I could see the tremors in my mother's hands, the flickering shadows under my grandfather's eyes, the doubt swirling in Andrew's expression. Yes, I said firmly, feeling the solid ground beneath my feet, as if I had finally found my anchor amidst the storm. We need to face whatever is coming. Together. The collective breath of my family filled the room with a profound silence, as if the universe itself paused to acknowledge the gravity of what lay ahead. Then, as if driven by an unseen force, I took a step toward David, determined to confront the untamed beast of our shared history. What do you know? What is this legacy you speak of? My voice trembled slightly, yet I felt empowered by my commitment to seek the truth, however painful it might be. David's gaze darted across the room, weighing his words carefully as lightning flashed outside, momentarily illuminating his features. You bear the weight of a curse driven by misjudgments and shattered promises. Your family was once part of a network that sought to manipulate powers beyond comprehension, an illicit family trade that uncovered devastating truths about life, death, and resurrection. Resurrection? I echoed, the word resonating deep within me, awakening memories I had buried long ago, a fleeting glimpse of stories shared in hushed tones during late-night talks. You're saying we were involved in something unnatural? Yes, he replied, his voice steadying. And the choices made to seek power. He looked at my grandfather, whose expression twisted with pain. Those choices stained the lineage. They put everyone you love at risk. But it doesn't have to end this way. You can break the cycle. You can't just throw that at us and expect us to accept it. My voice wavered as I spoke, unpredictable emotions swirling in my chest. What are we supposed to do with that? Face it. David's gaze locked onto mine with a fierce intensity. You have to confront the shadows your family has cast long before you were born. You're at the center of it now, Matilda. It's your legacy, yours to carry or forsake. As I processed his words, it felt as if the blood in my veins had turned to ice, solidifying the remnants of a past tainted with secrecy and abandonment. I thought of my parents, their unwavering love cloaked in fears, trying to shield me from ghosts haunting them still. That realization twisted something in me. I finally understood, this battle would not only be about their choices but also about my own. I had the power to redefine our family's fate. What if I refused to accept this? I challenged, my heart pounding as the echoes of generations whispered in the air around us. What if I refused to be tied to this legacy of darkness? You'll continue to be haunted, David replied softly but firmly. There are forces that will never rest until they reclaim what belongs to them. But if you fight, there's a chance for redemption, for your family to reclaim its love and find peace. You must accept that the shadows today are representatives of choices made in love and fear. The tension in the air felt unbearable, yet I could sense something stirring within the depths of my soul. I shifted my gaze from David to my family, my brother, my sister, my parents, each of them, shining fragments of light in this gathering storm, filled with their own burdensome pasts. Okay, I breathed, the decision resonating deep within me, raw and unfiltered. I will face it. We can break this cycle together. A sense of unity washed over me, binding every word. With a promise, a commitment to face whatever darkness loomed ahead. A flash of recognition shimmered in David's eyes. He smiled then, a flicker of hope emerging from the darkness. Then together, we will uncover the truth. But, before he could continue, a loud crash resonated from the doorway, as if heralding an arrival we could not ignore. The door swung open, and I felt horror coil in my gut. Two figures stood beyond the threshold, shadowy silhouettes, dripping with rain and malice. My heart raced. They stepped into the dim light, revealing themselves, and I recognized the look in their eyes, a predatory gaze filled with the promise of danger, intent on reclaiming what they believed was theirs. Before I could muster a warning, a voice erupted that shot through the suffocating silence like glass shattering. You've meddled where you don't belong. It growled, venom dripping from every word, and just as dread settled in our bones, David stepped protectively in front of us, shielding us from the storm that had now thrust itself into our lives with vicious intensity. You have no authority here. He spat back, his voice a fierce storm of defiance. Authority? Do you believe that's why we've come? One of the figures, a woman with dark hair and piercing eyes, stepped forward, her presence as imposing as the tempest outside. We're here to make sure matters are resolved. Your family's secrets have consequences, and those debts must be paid. A wave of panic washed over me, colored by uncertainty and fear. I glanced at my family, each of their faces etched with resolve, love, and the understanding that our struggles were converging, the tempest of our past and present clashing violently before us. Stay behind us. I shouted, my voice trembling as I stood at the forefront, and then a determination surged through me, stronger than the threat before us. It carried the weight of every choice I'd ever made, every sacrifice, every heartbreak that had brought us to this moment, and then the connection surged deep within my heart, stronger than anything I had ever known, a tether to my family's love, a reminder of our fight to redefine what we were destined to be. I raised my chin defiantly, each heartbeat resonant with unyielding strength. If you want something from us, you'll have to fight for it. The vulnerability we felt across the burdens of our past strengthened the bond that propelled us into battle, headfirst into the unknown. Everything hinged on this urgency. Our lives, our love, and our determination to break the chains of our burdens for the sake of a future we could finally choose together. As the tempest raged outside, our voices coalesced, intertwining like threads to create a tapestry of defiance, a battle cry immersed in a legacy redefined not just by sacrifice but rebirth. The storm within us would rage on, but through it, we would claim our truth and our inheritance. Together. My cry surged through the chaos, echoed back as we prepared to face whatever darkness lay ahead, united by love and the hope of reclaiming our future. And as the thunder roared, reverberating harmoniously with the beating of our hearts, I knew with unwavering certainty that we were about to embark on a journey that would unravel the deeply buried secrets of our ancestors, revealing that the greatest power we possessed was not just a legacy of darkness, but of love triumphant over fear. It was finally a new beginning.